told you pulling out of the EU would make your life better. Is it better? No. Now the same people who were in that government, the Bravermans, the Jenricks, the Priti Patels, Nadeem Zahawi, tax avoider extraordinaire, we're talking about, are telling you that it's the immigrants' fault. Now they're telling you, pull out the ECHR. Do you know why? Because the ECHR gives you maternity pay, gives you sick pay. If you don't have the ECHR, your boss can fire you for being pregnant.
A reform government will launch an emergency programme to track down, detain and deport all illegal migrants in the United Kingdom.
Zia Youssef has a self-proclaimed shadow Home Secretary, who's actually not even an MP. Zia Youssef, who is now Reform's spokesman on Home Affairs, has announced Reform's policy in relation to immigration. Sweeping changes announced. First, they are going to do something called Operation Restoring Justice, where they are going to detain 24,000 illegal immigrants.
A reform government will launch an emergency programme to track down, detain and deport all illegal migrants in the United Kingdom.
And they plan to deport 300,000 illegal immigrants a year. So Zia Youssef announced this at a press conference. They will make a UK deportation command where they're going to have a capacity to detain 24,000 migrants and will run 5 deportation flights a day if Reform wins power. These are the announcements that have been made by Reform in relation to immigration.
Our plan is the only appropriate response to a national security emergency. It will immediately stop the boats by sending a clear message that being in our country illegally now has an ironclad consequence: immediate detention and removal.
But let's actually fact check these and see if it's possible and what cost this will be and who will have to fund this, if at all it's possible. So, first of all, Zia Youssef has said that they will detain 24,000 migrants at a time. Now, the total detention capacity for immigration in the 7 detention centres and other places is 2,400. So he's aiming to detain 10 times as much capacity as they currently have. But he says he's going to build a detention centre for 24,000 people. Now, you're thinking, wow, okay, can this be done? Let me put it this way. The total prison capacity of all the prisons in the UK is around about 90,000. That's total, that's every single prison. The largest prison in the UK is in Wales, in Wrexham, called HMP Berwyn, and its capacity is 2,100. So essentially you would have to build 12 HMP Berwyns. Each one will cost £250 million to make. And each inmate there is costing the UK taxpayer, i.e. you and me, not Mr. Zia Youssef's friends who are based offshore, who are not paying tax and using tax avoidance schemes, but people like yourselves, around about 14 to 22,000 per person. Now, if he's going to detain 24,000, you times that by about 14 to 22,000. I don't even know how many zeros in that. That's just the cost of maintenance, not even the cost of building. So are we going to believe that Reform are going to build 10, 12 times the largest size prison in the UK? Will they be able to detain 24,000? It does seem unlikely. Where's the costing? How's it going to be done? How long is it going to take to build? What about the people who have to man it? What about the people who have to staff it? And where are they going to build this? Which town is going to agree to have that being built near them? Is it your town? Is it my town? Yeah, who's going to agree to that? Then let's look at the claim about deporting 300,000 people a year. In the last 15 years, if you look at the deportation figures, the maximum deportations that have happened in a year, that includes people going back voluntarily. So that includes people saying, I've had enough of the UK, I'm going to go back, because they count that in the deportation figures as well, is 60 to 70,000. There's not been more than that in any year in the last 15 odd years that I've been looking at deportation figures. Out of that 60 to 70,000, I would say at least probably about a third decide to go back themselves, that people have had enough and said we're going to go back to themselves. So is he going to forcibly deport 300,000 people a year? Doesn't look likely, has never happened in the past, doesn't look as it's going to happen, just don't have the capacity for it. The UK doesn't have the capacity for it. It costs around about £12,000 to deport someone. Once again, 300,000 times 12,000. I don't know how many zeros in that, but I'm sure you'll work it out. That's mind-boggling. Who's going to pay for that? The taxpayer. Is it possible? Yeah. It hasn't been done so far. Yeah. In the history, no matter what government has been. Yeah. And I'm sure if it was possible, then governments would do it. Because why wouldn't they? Because it seems to be a vote winner with the British public. So the claims are great from Zia Youssef that they're going to do. And this is the beauty of not being in government. You can actually claim to do whatever you want when you come into power, but it's actually doing it. Are you going to be able to do it? The other idea floating about is the abolition of indefinite leave to remain. Now, what happens is migrant workers come here, they work in their jobs, that perhaps British people don't want to do, such as in the care industry, in the hospitality industry, in logistics and transport. Then they pay their tax, they pay double NHS. Yes, migrants pay double NHS. You're going to say, how do they pay double NHS? I'll tell you how. Every migrant who comes on a visa has to pay an immigration health surcharge. That includes students and people on work permits who form up the bulk of immigration coming to the UK. If 700 and 800,000 people came to the UK, out of that, only 6% came on the boats. The rest of the 90 odd percent came on visas, were legally allowed to be here. They have to pay out of their tax, normal tax band, which everyone pays, you and I pay. And on top of that, they have to pay something called an IHS, Immigration Health Surcharge, which is about £1,100–1,200 a year per person. So if they're here for 5 years, they'll be paying £6,000 extra to use the NHS on top of what they're paying in tax. Whereas a British citizen will only pay out of their tax for the NHS. So it's a double taxation. If you say to these people, come to our country, you can't bring your family over, you have to look after our elderly, yeah, you have to clean their toilets, you have to clean their vomit, dress them, bathe them, feed them, all the things that perhaps British people who've left their parents in care homes don't want to do. But you can't call your family over, you can't look after your family, and you're not going to get anything at the end of it. You're not going to get, we're going to charge you double for the NHS, and you're not going to get any passport or citizenship or any leave to remain. And we're going to have it, in fact, like Dubai, except for you're left to pay tax. Is that an attractive proposition? People will start going to New Zealand, Canada, and America, and they'll take the talent that we'll be losing. And this is the crux of Reform's whole policy. Reform's whole policy relies on playing a gamble of not allowing immigrants in and saying to the British people, get up off your backsides and take these jobs. Now, we know from the fact that we've been looking at the UK for the last 20 years and how migration works, that the British people aren't doing these jobs. Are you trying to tell me that a British person can't get a driving license and become an Uber driver? If they can, why are most of the Uber drivers immigrants? Why can't British people learn to look after elderly and do care qualifications? Yeah, it's the British people's parents that are being looked after by migrants, and the British people are now blaming migrants for everything and saying there's too much immigration. The irony of it, you're not willing to look after your own, and you won't let others look after your own, and you won't let the others who are looking after your own look after their own. What a messed up thought process. Yeah. Right. So on top of that, yeah, why the security guards in London, why the cleaners in London that I see even in the Midlands, why are they all migrants? Bar staff, pub staff, restaurant staff, why are they all migrants? Why can't the British people do these jobs? Reform's whole policy relies on that. And guess what? They're going to cut the benefits of these British people who aren't doing the jobs, and then tell these British people to go out and get jobs. So the people who are on benefits are blaming the migrants, But in fact, the people who are going to lose out are the people on benefits, because their benefits will be cut and they'll have to go and work. Something which perhaps they don't do. And in these low paid, so-called unskilled jobs that allegedly are being taken over by migrants. Migrants don't take over your jobs. They just do the jobs that are there, that they have to do in order to survive. Migrants who come on visas, they have it clearly written on their visa, no recourse to public funds. They can't claim benefits. They're not draining your benefits. They're not taking your housing. They're not taking your child's school place. They're just doing the jobs here that are vacant. If these jobs weren't here, migrants wouldn't be here. So this is the loop that we're in. First of all, reform look like these policies are exactly what people want to hear. Yeah, especially the working class British person. However, when you look into it, it's never been done before. It's not achievable. The numbers don't add up. Where the funding going to come from? Yeah. And then if you do cut immigration down to zero, which they're going to say, i.e. they're not going to let anyone in, that's what zero migration means, or they'll only let one person goes out, then they'll let one person in, you're going to end up with huge gaps and businesses decimated. Yeah. Are the British people going to run the car washes? No? I think we're going to go back to the days where everyone pulls a hose out in the garden and then washes it with a sponge on a Sunday morning. I don't think so. Is it achievable? Look at the evidence. Look at the, I'm not plucking figures out of the air. That's the evidence there. And then you're entitled to your own view. But one thing's for certain. You don't need to blame a migrant for your situation. If you're in a bad situation, it's not the fault of someone, a migrant who's come here with a suitcase, willing to work, or someone who's come here with just a shirt on his back and a phone. It's not their fault. It's the system. The system is made for billionaires to thrive and to live offshore and not pay their taxes. Then they control the media. The media sets the narrative every day, blasting into your ears, immigrants' fault, playing the poor off against the poor. An immigrant coming here with a suitcase has probably got more in common with a working class person, British working class white person who's working in a factory, than a white billionaire has, or a black billionaire has. So these people need to keep you divided because they need to keep your eyes off them. And the media, the role of the media, and a reminder to journalists, your job isn't to interview someone and say he says this and she says that. If someone says it's raining outside, your job isn't to say, well, this person says it's raining, this person says it's not raining. Your job is to put your head out the window and see which one is true and tell the public the truth. That is journalism. They told you pulling out of the EU would make your life better. Is it better? No. Now the same people who were in that government, the Bravermans, the Jenricks, the Priti Patels, Nadeem Zahawi, tax avoider extraordinaire, we're talking about, are telling you that it's the immigrants' fault. They're telling you that. The people who told you we're going to make it all better, just pull us out of Europe. Now they're telling you, pull out the ECHR. Do you know why? Because the ECHR gives you maternity pay, gives you sick pay. If you don't have the ECHR, your boss can fire you for being pregnant. That's what they do in America. America doesn't have the ECHR, and guess what? They absolutely have no rights. They hardly even get 1-2 weeks holidays a year. You ask them. I go over there, I see the state of employees in America. All of this, the ECHR protects your rights as a common citizen. It stops the state abusing its power. And now, what you're being told is a narrative that suits billionaires. It doesn't suit you. The narrative, getting rid of immigrants won't make your life better. The billionaires paying their tax will. That'll make your life better. Guarantee it. Yeah. So why are they allowed to get away with this? The excuse the billionaire companies use is this. That, oh, but we pay PAYE and NI for our staff, for our employees. No, you don't. That's paid out of their salary.